Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. So we are studying the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And the question at the beginning of the 5th chapter, which Arjuna asks, that sannyasam karmanam Krishna punar yogam cha shanksasi yat shreya etayor ekam tan me bruhi sunishchitam. Giving up the actions, renunciation of your duties and activities in the world. That's one way. And the other way is to do those duties as karma yoga. And you have praised both of them. So why don't you tell me one which I should follow? And we saw Sri Krishna started the instruction pointing out that there are actually two aspects to this. One is the way of life, whether you want to be a householder or a monk, actually physically giving up involvement with the world. Karma literally here means involvement with the world. Are you going to have a job, earn money, hold property, have a husband, wife, children, all of that, or not? Or are you going to become a monk and give it all up? That's another way of life, drastically different ways of life. So that's a genuine question, really. Another thing could be that with the householder is associated karma yoga, and with the monk is associated jnana yoga. So he may be asking the question about which kind of spiritual practice is he to perform. Is he to do all activities in the spirit of service, of unselfish activity, karma yoga? Or is he to engage himself in jnana yoga? That means come to Vedanta, study Vedanta under a teacher, think about it, think it through, really gets conviction, and then meditate upon it and get enlightenment. Which spiritual path is he supposed to follow? And Krishna's answer is twofold. First of all, as far as spiritual practices are concerned, all the practices have to be done, regardless whether you are a monk or a householder. Karma yoga, bhakti yoga, dhyana yoga, and jnana yoga, they all have to be gone through. Everybody has to go through that. As last time, I think somebody asked a question that a select few may be ready. The example, somebody put it nicely, somebody who lives near the airport need not take a cab to the airport. So yeah, that's true. But those are very few in number. And we will ourselves easily understand. The moment we sit down to meditate, within 1 minute, if we are perceptive, we'll understand how controlled our mind is. The mind is not controlled, then all these spiritual practices are necessary. One must go through karma yoga, bhakti yoga, dhyana yoga, and then come to jnana yoga. Jnana yoga is a must because that will lead to the knowledge which gives rise to enlightenment. That's one answer. The other one is, as far as being a monk or a householder is concerned, it is up to you. But Sri Krishna, he shows a preference for the path of the householder, spiritual seeker in both. But you have preference for the path of the householder in the sense that it requires special preparation to be a monk. You can become a monk, but you can't come back. One can always go from a householder life to a monastic life, but the other way around is not possible. There are unique difficulties with the life of a monk. There are many advantages, but those advantages require special preparation. So he says it's better to start spiritual practice in your householder stage itself. So that's the position so far. Then he said, ultimately, all these spiritual practices, all activities are ultimately appearances. They are like activities in a dream. We did those verses 8 and 9. The jnani, the person of knowledge, feels that naiva kinchit karometi. Yes, I do not do anything. Why? The person who realizes I am the witness consciousness. That person sees that while pashyan, shrinvan, sprishan, jigran, touching and hearing and seeing and smelling and tasting, eating, walking or sleeping, just breathing, all activities are going on, and yet the enlightened one can honestly say, I do not do anything, because I am the witness consciousness. I am the screen on which the movie is playing. Um, so what is going on? The body and the mind are interacting with the world, and both body, mind, and world are appearances. So that is at the level of the jnani. That is what is taught by Vedanta, and the jnani, the enlightened one, realizes this. So that's the ultimate conclusion of all activities. All activities will continue, but they are part of the world appearance. They are not ultimately real. Ultimately, what is real is the foundation, the ground of it all, existence, consciousness, bliss, which you are. But until we come to that, what do you do? Verse number 10. Brahmaṇyādhāya karmāṇi saṅgaṁ tyaktvā karoti lipyate na sa pāpena padma-patram ivāmbhasā. The 10th verse. I think we had touched upon it last time. So, he who performs actions, dedicating them to the Lord and giving up attachment, is not touched by sin, as a lotus leaf by water. So until one comes to the level of a jnani, until one at least even understands what is meant by being the witness consciousness in which appears the world and all activities, to come to that stage itself is difficult. Before that, if I honestly, I firmly feel I am this person, this body, mind person, this jiva. Yeah, I know I'm consciousness, but I'm associated with the body and mind. And I must be honest that I feel only that I'm this one and not the other things. And I have a sense of ego, and I have a sense of doership. I am doing these actions. I am speaking, sitting, walking, talking. It comes instinctively to me. In that case, which is the case with most of us, there are very few are so elevated as to clearly see that I am the witness of all actions, and I actually am not doing anything. But until that stage comes, then what should you do? Brahmaṇyādhāya karmāṇi. Do all activities, dedicating them to the Lord. So karma yoga is to be gone through. What is karma yoga? Continue to do all activities which come to you, the duties at home, your work in the community, in your career, and in your personal life, including from your morning exercise to your to your spiritual practices. All of it is karma. Even spiritual practice, studying Vedanta, meditating, that's also activity. As long as we have the sense of agency, everything is activity for us, everything is karma for us. So continue to do all that as karma, as the worship of the Lord. Brahmaṇyādhāya. Here Brahman means not pure consciousness. It means consciousness plus Maya. You will see why the Vedanta Sara class is so useful now. So when they say Brahman here, it means Saguna Brahman or Ishvara. Brahman plus Maya, God. When I am the Jiva, it is not easy for me to say I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. That is not yet come. I have not come to that level. Then I'm clearly this individual being. Then what is Brahman, that ultimate reality? It is God. Now all my activities, let me do it as a worship of God. Brahmaṇyādhāya karmāṇi. And how do I do it? We have heard this again and again in Karma Yoga. You're doing it as a worship of God. Saṅgaṁ tyaktvā, without attachment. Karoti, the one who does this. God in whichever form. What do you mean by God? Brahman plus Maya. Vedanta Sar, courtesy of Vedanta Sar. That ultimate reality limited by or associated with Maya. Maya is the upadhi. So then that Brahman becomes the God of the universe with endless powers, all auspicious qualities, benevolent, omnipotent, omniscient, the creator, preserver, and destroyer of the universe, the Lord of all beings like us, and the giver of all the results of karma. Most adorable. So we worship that Lord. And again, here in Hinduism, you have this whole variety of traditions, multiple traditions. So if the God or Saguna Brahman, you can worship as Shiva, you can worship as Vishnu, you can worship as Devi, Durga, Kali, whatever, like Sri Ramakrishna worshipped Kali. Who is Kali for Sri Ramakrishna? Saguna Brahman, from a Vedantic standpoint. You can worship as Ganesha in whatever form. And you can easily see how the Christian, Jewish, or Islamic idea of God easily fits into this paradigm. And you're worshipping God. When you worship God like this, You have a particular tradition you hold on to. That is called Ishta Devata. That is an important concept in Hinduism. So if all these forms, all these traditions, all these names and mythologies associated with it, and rituals associated with it, and holy places, pilgrimages associated with it, all of this is, each of them is like a religion in itself. And if all of them are true, then which one do I do? What do I do? Do I do all of them? No, of course not. That is, Sri Ramakrishna said, Ishtonishta. That means it's like digging a well in one place. Instead of digging a well in 6 different places, a 1-foot well. I dig for some time, I don't find water here, go and dig elsewhere and don't find water there. At the end of the day, if I've dug 6 1-foot wells, no water anywhere, it would have been much better to dig 1 6-foot well. So that is Ishtanishta. You hold on to one form, one way. I worship Krishna. My tradition is Vaishnavism, or I worship the Divine Mother, Kali. But I know Vedanta, the advantage of Vedanta is that it gives me the idea, I know what I am doing. So because I still have a very strong sense of individuality of this person, then devotion is recommended strongly. So bhakti towards the Ishta, and all my actions now become worship, puja. So karma yoga is performed in that way. Then what will be the result? Lipyate nasa pāpena. Padma-patram ivāmbhasā. An example is given. Just like a lotus leaf is not, doesn't get wet, the water rolls off the leaf. Similarly, you are in the midst of activities, but you don't get caught in the world. Attachment to the activity and its result, we get caught in the machinery of the world. You can't run away from it either. Swami Vivekananda said, you can't run away from the machine. We must learn how to work the machine till the machine sets us free. Machine means Maya and this world. So work the machine. You must learn how to work the machine. Don't work with desire that I am doing these things so that I will get these particular results, which most people do. No. Instead of that, if we convert our activities into worship of God, lipyate nasa pāpena. It's not stained by sin, is not touched by sin. Not touched by sin, not only by sin, by anything good or bad. Good karma, bad karma, you will not be trapped because everything is puja for you. The job that you're doing and the career, that's a puja, that's a worship of God. The taking care of the family, of your near and dear ones, that's puja. Doing work for the community, for the ashram, everywhere that you work, it is a puja. You're doing karma yoga. You need not even make a division that the work that I do at home and the work that I do in the office, this is part of my secular life, and the work I do in the ashram or temple, that is part of my religious life. It may be good to begin that way, but you can very soon you will see it is the same everywhere. Whether I'm doing work at home or in the ashram or in the office, it's the same, basically, same kind of work. And all of it can be offered to God. So, lipyate nasa pāpena is not stained by sin. Neither, obviously, that person will try not to do anything wrong, sinful activities that this spiritual seeker will try the best to avoid. What it means here, will not be caught by the results of karma. Will not be caught by the results of karma. Then this theme is, he further expands on that, on the 11th verse. Kāyena manasā buddhyā kevalair indriyair yoginaḥ karma kurvanti saṅgaṁ tyaktvātma-śhuddhaye. So, what does it mean? Men of selfless action, giving up attachment, perform action through the body, mind, intellect, as also the mere senses, for the purification of the mind. So this karma yoga, it is done at multiple levels. Kāyena, which means with the body, physical actions. That also can be karma yoga. It's worship of God. Vacha, that means by speech. It's not mentioned here in this list, but speech also. That we can do karma yoga through speech. By thoughts, what we imagine in the mind. by our faculty of understanding, buddhi, and the senses, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, all of these can be engaged in the worship of the Lord. So there's physical puja. At every level, we can do karma yoga. Just like we do physical puja, we sit down and we perform a ritualistic worship. Similarly, if you're sitting down and writing a report for your office or something, why cannot that be a worship also? That can also be a worship. I was reading Conversations with Swami Bhuteshanandaji. A monk is asking, so while doing the work, suppose we are doing work in the office. He's a monk in an ashram. So while we're doing the work in the ashram, but it's an office, So how do I convert it into karma yoga? Do I do japa mentally while doing the work? So Bhuteshanji smiles and he says, no, how is that possible? If you're doing accounts and you keep doing japa, you'll make mistakes in your accounts. So one way of doing it is, at the beginning of the work, dedicate it to God. That here is my worship today, O Lord. Maybe in the middle you remember the Lord again, and at the end dedicate it again to the Lord. You can do it multiple times throughout the day. So that is physically you can do something. Vacha, by speech you can do something. This is all, when he says indriyair, by all the senses, it includes speech, the motor organs and sense organs. By speech also one can do. I have seen Pujari, a Swami who is the worshipper in the temple, old Swami. Even when he is not worshipping in the temple, even when he's not doing ritualistic worship, he's just walking around, he's continuously chanting. It's become natural for him. This hymn, this stotra, that stuti, this is just Sanskrit hymns are coming out. He's just mumbling it or reciting it as he walks along. It's like a continual worship through the speech, a worship, using the speech for worship. But you can expand it in its larger sense also. All the speech that I do, when I'm speaking to people, which may be a very secular activity in the family or in a job, can I think of that as a worship? I'm using the words. All these senses are given to me by the Lord. So the faculty of speech is also given to me by the Lord, and I'm using it to worship the Lord in this way. So I will speak what is true. I will speak it gently. I will speak sweetly. So all of these ways, this is a worship of the Lord, remembering that I'm worshipping the Lord in that way. Swami Ranganathanandaji, he is in his reminiscences, even though he was the 13th president of the order, in his reminiscences, he says, when he was a little boy, one day he came home from school and used an abusive word, which he had learned at school from some of his friends. And his mother immediately said, if you utter such words, then Saraswati will never dwell, the goddess of learning, will never dwell on your tongue. And he said, that made such an impression on me. Immediately that corrected all tendencies of using any kind of curse words or abusive words forever in my life. Vacha, converting walk, that means the ability, the power of speech, into an instrument of worship. Manasā, by mind. So one can worship in the mind also. See, I'm interpreting this at two levels. One is at the level of ritualistic worship, puja. So physically one does ritualistic worship. You sit in the asana and you're doing a puja of your Ishta Devata. There are mudras to be done and asana to be sitting in. By speech, you are uttering mantras and hymns. By the mind, you keep your mind on the Lord you're worshipping. One can actually physically go on worshipping and chanting mantras if you're an expert pujari, and the mind may be thinking of something else, quite possible. So the mind has to be kept on the Lord. So this is the ritualistic worship. You can have manasa puja. That means externally the puja may not go on, but in meditation, you can imagine the Ishta Devata in a luminous lotus in your heart. Imagine the form of the Ishta Devata. And then you are actually worshipping the Ishta Devata with imaginary, with the mind, the faculty of imagination, flower and incense and food offerings. All of that you're worshipping mentally. Manasa puja. Now the same thing can be extended to our external activities. Physically, instead of doing the puja and sitting in the the posture and using the hand gestures, you're doing other kinds of, you're sitting in other posture when you're driving or writing report on your computer, you're using other hand gestures. All of those can be thought of as physical worship of the Lord. Instead of uttering Sanskrit hymns or mantras for the ritualistic worship, we are saying other things when we're talking with people. And thinking, instead of thinking mentally worshipping the Lord there, we are thinking about the work of people outside. But all of those can also be imagined as, the attitude can be changed. That's also my worship of the Lord. So kāyena, manasā, you can add vacha, by speech, buddhyā, so by our understanding. Even this Vedanta practice which we are doing right now, for example, we have all come to class and we are studying Vedanta, yet we do not have the breakthrough that I am the Atman, and when I'm reading that I am the witness consciousness, the person who has the breakthrough, for that person, it will just be a report of a fact. That yes, it's just telling me as it is. But if I'm not at that level, it'll be just something that I have to attain in the future, that I have to realize that, I have to make the breakthrough. But in that case, all my study of Vedanta will be a karma yoga. Even the Vedantic study, what I consider to be jnana yoga, the studying, coming to the Gita class and reading the book and thinking about it, all of it is still karma yoga until I get the breakthrough. In one way of putting it. I mean, if you say that, no, that is jnana yoga. The Gita class, the Upanishad class is because it is Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. Even if I have not made the breakthrough, even if I think of myself as an individual being, isn't that jnana yoga? You can think that way also. Kevalair, indriyair. So this word kevalair, it means with the humility, with the understanding that all the factors of work which I am using, the body, the speech, the sense organs, my mind, these are all given by the Lord. They are powered by Prakriti, by nature. And none of them, they belong to me really. So I am using the instruments, the powers and energies and capacities given by God to worship God. With this kind of humility, with this kind of worshipful attitude, we engage in action. Which action? All actions, including ritualistic religious actions and our day-to-day actions. Yoginaḥ, the yogi. Which yogi here? Karma yogi. Karma kurvanti, they perform actions. Saṅgaṁ tyaktvā, again, giving up detachment. Because all of these actions can be performed for giving up attachment. So all of these actions can be performed for selfish gain. That must be given up. Otherwise, it does not become karma yoga. See, this is one simple fact. It may sound a little harsh, but sometimes people say, I have done my duty in the world. Isn't that enough for God realization? No, it is not. One must actually consciously, deliberately seek God. Even the duties in the world which we do, one must connect it to God. In some way, it must become the worship of God. That I am doing the duties in the world honorably, struggling to do it, good. That counts in your favor. That counts in my favor, that I'm struggling in the world to live an honorable, moral, ethical life and putting up with so many troubles. I've met many people like that. I've done the best I could throughout the life. Isn't this enough for God realization? Actually, it is not. It's good that one has struggled in life to do the best one can. That's much better than not doing it. But also one must consciously seek enlightenment, must consciously seek God realization. Also similarly, isn't it enough if I do karma yoga? According to Krishna, according to Vedanta, not enough, because he says here, padma-patram. All these yogis doing these activities for what? Atma-shuddhi. Atma-shuddhi here Atma means mind. So Atma can mean body, it can mean mind, it can mean the real Atma, the pure consciousness. Here Atma means mind. For the purification of the mind, chitta shuddhi. Here Atma shuddhi is equal to chitta shuddhi, purification of the mind. Remember the 3 levels of sadhana, 3 levels of spiritual practice. Impurity of the mind, it has to be corrected. We need purity of the mind. And how will you do that? Karma yoga. And this is what he is saying here. Distraction of the mind, we need concentration of the mind. How will you do that? Upasana or dhyana yoga, meditation. And that will be said in 6th chapter. He'll talk about it next chapter. Finally, Ignorance in the mind, we need knowledge. How will you do that? Jnana Yoga. So 3 levels. Again, this is classical Advaita Vedanta. So Atma-śhuddhaye, these karma yogis, they perform all these actions with this attitude for the purification of the mind, not for enlightenment. For enlightenment, you must come to the Vedantic teaching that you are Brahman. And there must be Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. So classical Vedanta is inflexible on this point. I have devotion to God. Isn't it enough? Advaita Vedanta will say, no, it is not enough. Purification of the mind through Karma Yoga, concentration of the mind through Raja Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, but enlightenment through Jnana Yoga. But you can take it in a little more, more liberal form, in the sense that, yes, it could be enough if you have devotion to God and ultimately by the grace of God, you get knowledge. This much Advaita Vedanta will stick to, that ultimately you need knowledge. Knowledge will overcome ignorance. If you say, God will give me knowledge, Sri Ramakrishna said that my mother has told me everything, has shown me everything, what is there in your Veda and Vedanta, then that's also all right. Because ultimately it is God who does give knowledge. Yes. That's a more liberal interpretation. The strict interpretation would be, no, Karma Yoga first, then Bhakti Yoga and Raja Yoga next, and then Jnana Yoga to give you enlightenment. And of course, you can keep doing all 4 together, but the results will be separate. The results have, each of them has specific results and specific purposes. All right. Then 12, continuing the same topic. Yukta karma phalam tyaktvā shantim apnoti naishtikim ayukta kama karena phale sakto nibadhyate. The harmonized one, giving up the fruit of action, attains the highest peace. The non-harmonized one, working under the sway of desire, is attached to the fruit and gets bound. Basically, what it means, yukta means the karma yogi here. Let's make it more clear. The karma yogi, giving up attachment to the results of actions, that means has no selfish desires, and performs all the actions as a worship of God. Shantim apnoti, attains peace of mind, naishtikim, by this discipline, by dedication to karma yoga. Whereas the opposite, ayukta, the one who does not perform actions as karma yoga, is doing actions or not doing actions either out of desire or not doing actions out of laziness. What will happen? Phale sakto nibadhyate. They become attached to the results and they are trapped by karma. So samsara will trap them and they will be bound by worry and anxiety and suffering. So here's an interesting point. Karma yoga gives peace of mind. Actually, this topic of peace of mind, most people come to spirituality for peace of mind. All the yogas give peace of mind. All the yogas give peace of mind. How? Let me start from the most outward and go to the core. The most obvious thing to a more subtler and subtler things. So most obviously, we must first of all, what is the goal? Peace of mind. How do you get peace? First of all, one must give up activities which we ourselves know, actions which ourselves know to be unethical. If there is something that in my life I know, others may not know, that I am ashamed of, that I find unethical, I will not have peace of mind. Whatever happens in the world, I will not get peace of mind. So Americans have a nice phrase for it, clean up your act. So you clean up your act, then only there's peace of mind possible. This is called dharma. First of all, in spiritual life, one must move from adharma to dharma. This is something one must keep track of for a very, very long time in spiritual life. It's quite possible to be very philosophical, very intellectual, and have all kinds of subtle spiritual practices, and yet lose track of the foundation, that is dharma, and slip into adharma. Then the whole thing is destroyed again. So one must move from adharma to dharma. Make up one's mind that yes, I may have done things which are wrong, I may have done things which are sinful, I will not do them again. I repent for that, and I will move into a dharmic way of life, what is at least to my own conscience And it's good to check with society, the society I live in, the times that I live in. So just check with that this is moral and decent. So that gives peace of mind. One story I like is, one man wanted to learn meditation, and he went to a sadhu to learn yoga, Patanjali yoga, meditation. And the sadhu said, well, first of all, yama and niyama, do's and don'ts in spiritual life. You have to tell the truth, you have to be non-violent, you have to be self-controlled. This man did not like all that kind of advice. And he said, yeah, we learned all that in school, go ahead. I want to learn how to sit, and the breathing and the meditation, the focus, on the asana and pranayama. Teach me how to sit properly, the postures. Now this monk, you'll understand it nicely in Hindi. I'll translate later. He said, आप अष्टांग योग सीखेंगे या विकलांग योग सीखेंगे? You want to learn the 8-limbed yoga, or the, Vikalang literally means the handicapped yoga, with some yoga with some limb missing, the 2 limbs, the first 2 limbs are the moral limbs. You want to remove that. And then he said again in Hindi, आप black money पर आसन बिछाओगे, ध्यान होगा सेठ जी? So you have hidden undeclared income. Black money means, it's in India, it's a term for undeclared income. You haven't paid taxes, you're hiding that money. And then you hide it under your bed, and on top of the bed you put a nice meditation mat, and you sit for meditation. Then the monk said, do you think your mind will be calm in meditation? Will it be focused? So dharma, one must move from adharma to dharma. And that is the non-glamorous, hard part of spiritual life. That's why Swami Vivekananda gave so much stress on character development, character making, a good character. And then that's why ethics is the beginning, foundation of all religions. Every religion, whatever it's dualistic, non-dualistic, theistic, non-theistic, ethics is a big part. It's the beginning, and for a long time it is all about ethics. Then one goes to the next level. Remember, the topic is peace of mind. So next level is karma yoga. I may be doing ethical actions, and yet I have no peace of mind. Notice, everybody here, whoever is here, householders, you are working, you earn money, you take care of families. None of it is unethical, doing your duty in life. And yet you might say that, but we don't have peace of mind. The reason is that I am doing it ethically, I am not violating laws, I am leading a normal, decent life, and yet I fret, I am anxious because I have certain very specific desires. I want these things and I don't want those things. Raga dvesha is there. I want money and more money and more money, all in a moral way. I want gadgets, I want houses, I want this experience, that experience. I want my kids to go to, first I want kids, then I want kids in the best public schools, then I want kids to go to Ivy League colleges. What the kids want, that's not a question at all. So all of this is my program. And often life is uncertain. It goes many ways. Many things happen in life which are beyond my control, and therefore I'm unhappy. I have specific needs, specific demands from life, all moral, all ethical. Nowhere am I violating the law, but still there will be no peace of mind. It is because of kama, desire. So the next stage for peace of mind is what Krishna is saying, nishkama, karma yoga. Why would you do karma yoga? Shankaracharya in his commentary makes it clear again and again. Nishkama doesn't mean aimless. It doesn't mean without any purpose at all. That's madness. I will do so much karma yoga, so many things I'm doing as spiritual practice. There must be an aim. Yes, there is an aim. But the only aim is chitta shuddhi, purification of mind. Only aim is God realization. Let's keep the ultimate aim in view. The aim is enlightenment, God realization. That is clearly an aim. So someone may ask, then that's a desire too. How is it an action without desire? No, the desire for God is not to be counted among desires. Sri Ramakrishna makes this very clear. Mishri, he says, Mishti Muddhana, he says this rock candy is not to be counted as a candy because the candy produces acidity. acid reflux. The rock candy actually destroys acid reflux. Similarly, if you the work done with desire, it produces reaction, unhappiness. Work done for God realization removes those desires and gives me peace of mind. So it is not to be seen as a desire. Desire for God is not a desire, not among desires. Karma yoga, work done, the same work done as worship of God, gives peace of mind. Immediately, you will see a huge difference. Instead of doing that, I want my children to perform very well. Good. If children perform very well, I'm happy. If they don't perform very well, I'm definitely I'll be unhappy. But my whole point was, I am worshipping the Lord in the form of my child. After that, it's the Lord's will. What will happen, not happen, that's everybody, we are all children of the Lord. There's I like this saying that God does not have any grandkids. So you, your children, your parents, all of you are children of God. So one generation only, we are all children of God. God will take care of us. God will take care of your children also. So you need not worry so much. You are doing your duty, and if it sounds very harsh and dry, doing my duty, you are worshipping, you are adoring, you are loving. But whom are you worshipping, adoring, and loving? Not your son or daughter. You're worshipping or adoring and loving God. God in which way? The Ishta Devata which was spoken of earlier. Your Krishna, your Kali. Sri Ramakrishna says, he makes a pun on the word Daya and Maya. He says, my niece, my son or daughter, that is Maya, delusion. But everyone is my Gopala. All are my Gopala. My child Krishna is in everybody. He says, that is Daya. Daya here does not mean compassion in that sense. You don't have compassion to God. It's worship of God. It's spiritual. That attitude is spiritual. So, peace of mind. One interesting result is immediately peace of mind comes. That's a benefit people may not think about. Immediately. You don't have to wait for enlightenment. He says, Shanti mapnoti, gets peace of mind right away. The moment you give up specific worldly desires and continue to perform the actions as worship of God. Just as you perform a puja with devotion, simple devotion and focus, after that you have an elevation of mind, a feeling of purity and a calmness and a wholesome feeling after the puja for some time. Similarly, after every action, you will have that feeling. You will be elevated by all these actions, not degraded by it. So I saw in the ashram, the monks are, someone is running a kitchen, someone is running a school, somebody is looking after money. Monks, you're not supposed to touch money. All day long, you're counting money. One old monk said, look at my condition. All day long, I'm counting money. Being an old man, so he was always worried. He would lock the cash box and then go back and check whether he's locked it again, and then come out and then go back and check again whether he's locked it or not. And we used to pull his leg about it. Look, you have become a monk and you're worried about your cash box. But you see, why does he have peace of mind? Because he does not own even 1 rupee of that. It is all the Lord's property. All of it. So I was joking with somebody that, see, even the millionaires and billionaires in Manhattan, they have 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 houses in different continents. I'm a monk. I have at last count more than 200 houses in just about all the continents of the world. All the ashrams of the Ramakrishna order are my houses. But the difference is, I don't own a brick of even one of those places. And that's good. It all belongs to the Lord. You get peace of mind. No attachment. These are mine. No. Saṅgaṁ tyaktvā. He says here, yukta karma phalam tyaktvā, giving up all hankering for specific results from the work, or even the work itself. I like this work and I don't like that work. Why? All of it is puja, so why would you like this work or not that work? Monks, they literally give up. I mean, physically they give up. But when you're in the world, you have to mentally give up. The mentally give up means convert it into worship, into karma yoga. I may have told you this I'm just reminded of this monk. I hope he's still alive. He used to live under a tree in Uttarakhand. Literally live under a tree. And he had only a loincloth. Maybe in winter he lived somewhere else. But his philosophy is 0-0. 0-0 means he begins the day, sunrise, with nothing, with no possession. And throughout the day, people keep coming to him because a lot of the villagers revere him a lot. So they bring food and clothes and things like that. And quite a big bundle grows up throughout the day. But his policy is that as it grows up, there are devotees around whose work is to take and distribute all the stuff that comes to poor people in neighboring villages. So by the time sun sets, the monk is left alone with under his tree. He and his tree, and nothing else is there. 0 again at the end of the day. So his philosophy is like 0-0. Nothing should remain. But that's physical. It's actually more difficult to be in the midst of your possessions, your money, your gadgets, your clothes, your books, your car, and people around you, and maybe your dog and cat, all of that, and yet it all belongs to the Lord. Belongs to me, Maya. Belongs to the Lord, or the Lord himself is in all these forms, then that is spiritual. And that will give peace of mind. This is just a second level. The third level is internal. This is external. Internally, instead of thinking about the world, I will think only about God. So all my thoughts are about Ishta Devata and the mantra. No thought of the world is more valuable, more peaceful, more elevated than the mantra of God, than the thought of the form of my Ishta Devata. I think about Krishna all the time. I'll repeat the mantra of Krishna all the time. Internally, the mind is flowing in love towards God. Even greater, deeper peace of mind. You see the difference between karma yoga and this. This practice is bhakti yoga. Even deeper peace of mind. You'll be filled with joy and love throughout the day. And never have we ever thought of God and been hurt or disappointed by it. If you, I think who said it, that tears shed when you miss the presence of Krishna, those tears they give 1,000 times more happiness than all the smiles of worldly pleasure. The smiles of worldly pleasure, they give much less happiness than the tears you shed for the sake of God. Crying for the sake of God gives you great joy. So keeping the mind on God, the love of God, you can repeat the mantra, you can like chant, internally it flows towards God. That gives great peace of mind, even deeper peace of mind. This is the third level. Then the fourth level is even deeper peace of mind is why even thought of God? Why even emotion towards God? Shut the whole thing down at least twice a day in deep meditation. When you drop the mind itself, it shut down completely. Absolute peace, serenity, quietness of the mind, witness of the absence of the mind. That is yoga, samadhi. Deep meditation, where intense thought of God, and then finally that stops too. That is even deeper peace, where the mind also stops. And then finally, the fifth level of what? Peace of mind. And if you are like, what were the first 4 levels? So first is dharma, from immoral to moral, from adharma to dharma, gives you peace of mind. And then karma yoga, even that dharma has to be performed without any worldly desire. It is performed as a worship of God, gives you more peace of mind. Second level. Third level, internally, apart from my activities, my heart, my mind flows towards God. It's love of God, repeating the mantra, thinking about the Lord, even deeper peace of mind. Fourth level is Patanjali yoga, in samadhi, in meditation. Let the mind itself stop at least once or twice a day. That is even deeper level of peace and relaxation and freedom from anxiety completely. But the final level is in jnana, in realization, that it is Brahman, aham brahmasmi, inside, outside, with eyes closed and eyes open. It is the same reality. The problem with the yogic approach or even the bhakti approach is that this is spiritual. Thought of God is spiritual. All other thought is not spiritual. Or this is spiritual. No thought is spiritual. The moment the mind starts thinking, no, it's not spiritual. Spirituality is available only when the mind has stopped. One sadhu put it very nicely. Only in samadhi you find God, then the problem will be, lo, apne pyare ko samadhi ke jail khane mein dal diya. If you say only in samadhi God is available, then see, you have taken your beloved and put your beloved in the jail of samadhi. It's a jail. It's a prison cell. Only when you enter that, you will meet your beloved, the Lord. Outside it, there's no Lord. When you come out into the world, God is not there. Sri Ramakrishna put it even more simply. He said, what? When I close my eyes, there's God. And when I open my eyes, there's no God. What kind of God is that? So, Advaita, Jnana, the path of knowledge, that finally shows you there's only one reality and the one reality only. What appears as the world is an appearance. Appearance of what? Of God. There's nothing else here except God itself. So everywhere, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma, all this is verily Brahman. That is the highest peace. That is permanent. It's not dependent on anything. Then you realize your very nature is peace. Mandukya Upanishad, 7th mantra, Shantam, Shivam, Advaitam. Your very nature, the Atman, the self is, the name is peace. It's not that you're peaceful as against less peace, more peace, lack of peace, disturbance. No, you are peace itself. So that's the final, the deepest level. 5 levels of peace of mind. I've given you quite an independent Vedanta talk, little. So 5 levels of peace of mind. But here's Krishna's point is that every one of these yogas gives you peace of mind. Shanti mapnoti, naishtikim. This nishtha, this discipline gives you peace of mind. Which discipline is he talking about? Karma yoga. It gives you peace of mind immediately. I mentioned that I saw in the ashram when I became a monk. So somebody's running a school, somebody's running a kitchen, somebody is doing that cash, looking after the cash day and night and worrying about whether the cash box has been locked. And yet they're not really worried. None of them. They're all at peace. One of them is taken from one work to another work, looking after the kitchen, and then is sent next day to worship in the temple. Very different kind of work. Maybe you're not so good at it, but it doesn't matter. It's all the worship of the same Lord. That attitude is very important. I remember another time when I saw this monk. I was in the Himalayas in Uttarkashi. Another monk was there, one of our order, and we used to go out begging for food every day in the afternoon. And interesting, there are places where monks are fed. So the monks would go with their, earlier they would go at a begging bowl, but now the begging bowl has been replaced by like a tiffin carrier, like a box. You open it and you put rice and dal or the chapati and the dal inside. And the monks would come with that. And there's a specific time when the food would be distributed. This was in Uttarkashi. In Uttarkashi, there are many monks. If you go higher up in Gangotri and other places, there are fewer monks. So there's enough space for all of them to sit together and eat together. But Uttarkashi, there's so many monks, there's no space to sit and eat. They'll just give you the food. You can take it in that box. So you have to come with a box. And there's a specific time when they start giving the food. If you have come before that, there's a long queue. And what the monks do is, instead of standing in the queue, they put their box, the tiffin box, and then they go for a walk on the bank of the Ganga. It's just next to the bank of the river. So you will just see a long queue of tiffin boxes. So when it's time for the food to be distributed, you suddenly find all sorts of monks, some with long shaggy hair and beard, some clean shaven, some wearing ochre robes, some wearing white robes, some wearing red robes, some wearing, and so it's very different kinds of all different orders. They'll all come and form up in a queue. Now, why was I saying this? Okay, so I and this monk, we used to go. Then a few weeks later, I had gone back to our monastery. I'd returned from the Himalayas back to our monastery in India. And I was posted in a big college, a university at that time, actually. And this monk was also there. And at that time, a conference was organized to introduce certain software into the computer departments of different colleges across the city. So the computer companies, including Microsoft, Bill Gates and all, they had given a big conference for all the computer science departments, and all the teachers get to come to the fanciest hotel in Calcutta. I think it's the Taj or something like that, one of those. I've forgotten the name also. So we all went there. I went, that monk went, because we were part of that university. And that monk was part of the computer science department. So we went there. And surrounding us were all the teachers and professors from different computer science departments. And we're sitting there in this very posh hotel, one of the most expensive hotels in the city. Now I asked this monk, while we're sitting there, 15 days ago, Swami, 15 days ago, you were in the streets of a little town in the mountains, begging for your food. And now you're sitting here in the most expensive hotel in town, in this big city. What difference do you find? He said something very interesting. He said, when I was doing that, I felt that was not so bad at all. It's all right. And when I'm sitting here, I feel there's nothing particularly great about this either. There's nothing particularly great about this, and nothing particularly bad about that either, about begging for your food in a mountain village, mountain town. And I said, see, this is the difference. Because you are not part of the rat race, Everything is karma yoga for you. Everything is a worship of the Lord. Even the computer science department or whatever you're doing, or your sadhana in the Himalayas, all of it is worship of the Lord. That's why it's all the same to you, really. I mean, it's not that you do not see that this is fancy and this is very comfortable and ultra luxurious and that's a hard life. You do see the difference. But it doesn't really make a difference to you. But imagine these people who are sitting around you, who are teachers, basically. And on a teacher's salary, they would never dream of entering this hotel. So this is a story that they will go back home and tell the people back at home that we went to this big hotel and we saw it's this way and it's that way. I don't know, maybe teachers earn a lot more nowadays, but in those days, teachers did not earn so much to go to 5-star hotels. So it would be a story to tell people and something that they would remember for years, that they went to this very fancy place once. And if that teacher is suddenly dismissed from the job, you can't teach in the college anymore, and in fact you have to leave your family, and in fact you are exiled to a little town in the mountains, and in fact you don't get to have any money, you don't get to have any food, you have to beg for your food, and all you get to do all day long is to repeat the mantra and take the name of God. The teacher would be devastated. It would probably go insane. It would be like the end of life for that person. Everything is gone. Whereas, because you are not attached to this or that, you're attached only to God, and you see the same God in both. See what a huge difference it makes. It's not that the Swami is an enlightened Jivan Mukta. No. It's just that the paradigm has shifted. That's what Krishna is saying. This discipline of karma yoga is called nishtha. This staying with this karma yoga attitude, it gives peace immediately. No matter, it doesn't depend on what happens in the world anymore. It gives you peace. Shanti mapnoti naishtikim. Whereas the other one, ayukta kamakarena phale sakto nivadhyate. Those who are working for things in the world, they get trapped and they fall prey to anxiety and frustration and tension and elation. When things go their way, just for a while, elation. Wow, it's great. I'm on top of the world. The next moment, again, there will be unhappiness. You are on that rat race. I like that saying, that even if you win the rat race, you're still a rat. So one must run the rat race for a while and not even call it a rat race. It's a good school for learning. So once in a while I'm called to, nowadays, online, called to address students. I don't tell them these things. I tell them how to study and how to develop character and a personality, and also tell them that there is spiritual life and this ultimate goal in life is that this is possible. One must develop first. A gentleman told me, it's good that you don't talk about giving up the ego from the very beginning. One must have an ego to give up first. One must have possessions and some kind of place in life to go forward from. Without having any of it, theoretically, it doesn't work. One crusty old Swami, when young men would come to become monks in an ashram I knew in India, first question he would ask is, what is it that you have got to give up? The Buddha was a prince. He gave up a kingdom. Tell me, what are you giving up? And the poor young, mostly they were students or college kids, and they were not rich, or they didn't have families or jobs or anything. So they would sort of be at a loss for words. Really, what is it that am I giving up? All right, let me stop here. Let's look at the activity in the chats. Can you all hear me? Yes. Why is this?
But your video
is frozen.
It is frozen. Yeah, something is wrong with the
video. Audio is good.
Wait. Yeah, something is going wrong here.
I can see both. I can see the video and also hear.
You want to say both are clear?
Now, is it better now? Is it better now?
No.
no?
Wait, just wait for a. It just might be something to do with the software here.
It was okay for me up until a second ago when you tried to adjust something, but now I can't see you.
Right. Now also.
Yeah, your video is now not. I cannot see you anymore. I can hear your voice.
Swamiji, we need to get the computer science people here. You were talking about computer science.
Yeah. We see the black box where your picture should be, but we don't see a picture now.
And I know I'm trying to adjust it because this thing keeps on adjusting and readjusting. Anyway, but you can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something wrong with this thing.
But I was able to see you also until just before you started adjusting something.
Adjusting, yeah. I mean, what's happening is I can't do anything with the Zoom panel because there's this like circle keeps going round and round. Like
you could try quitting from Zoom and then logging back in. It should only take 30 seconds. And
what I'm worried about is if I quit, will the
Giant will let you back in.
But if the host quits, Giant is co-host. So Giant, will you will the whole meeting disappear?
Maharaj, it's okay if you don't see you, as long as you can.
Yeah, Swamiji, we can hear you. I think that's fine.
That's
okay.
Fine, Maharaj.
If anybody wants to ask a question, because I can't see the chat, it's frozen for me.
Swamiji is incognito now.
Yeah. So if anybody has a question to ask.
Jack, can you read out the chat?
Oh, okay. Now I can see.
Now you're back.
It's working.
Back.
Now I'm back too? Okay, good.
Yeah.
The computer has made up its mind to cooperate.
You became invisible for a while.
Yes. So Girish is asking, hold on to one form, but does that form have to be an anthropomorphic form? Can it be something vaguer? I won't use the word vaguer, more abstract, yes. Why does it have to be an anthropomorphic form? It can be, it can be a formless God with qualities. So like you have in Christianity or Islam or Judaism, God is without form, but with qualities. That's what the Brahmos also worshipped. Nirakar, Sagun Nirakar, with qualities and without it. Vishwanathan says, Swami Tyagananda's book, Walking the Walk, a Karma Yoga manual, extremely helpful to put verse 10 into practice. Yes. So this is book he's referring to is Walking the Walk, a Karma Yoga manual. It's a commentary on Swami Vivekananda's Karma Yoga. If you like it, if you are interested, you should pick up the book. Sujay says, Namaste Swamiji, if you're knowingly or unknowingly involved in bad karma during this life, will it not negatively affect our effects of our efforts toward God realization? Even when we think that bad karma is to be worshipped, offered as worship, it will still impact us negatively. Yes, it will. But bad karma is not to be offered as worship in that sense. It is that I repent doing something wrong and I will not do it again. That's good enough. If one cannot come out of it, one feels guilt about something sharply, then there's something called prayaschitta, which is a ritualistic repentance. That also can be gone through. Many religions have methods for that. But come out of it quickly and don't repeat it. That's all. Will it obstruct our spiritual practice? To some extent it will, but it doesn't matter. You will just have to surrender to the Lord, and with the help of God, overcome that. Ultimately, all of this will be overcome. Alpana Chatterjee is asking, how important is the pronunciation of mantras and stotras? The right intent can compensate for incorrect pronunciation. Yes, the pronunciation, as far as we can make it correct, let's make it correct. But if it is incorrect, see, one advantage of karma yoga, of nishkama karma, of spiritual practices in general, is that small defects are not important. Sakama karma, this difference is made in rituals in Hinduism. Sakama karma, rituals performed with desires. It has to be perfect. Otherwise, it will not give results, or sometimes negative results may come. Harm may ensue from that. This is sort of general feeling, that general idea that people have all over India. One knows this clearly. One does it properly or not at all. But if you're doing a puja ritual out of love for God, or the purpose is God realization, then the small things do not matter at all. Sri Ramakrishna says, the different children call out to the father. Some says father, some says papa, and the youngest child just says ba. But does that mean the father will not love the youngest child just because he cannot pronounce it? Not at all. Not at all. Pravir Basu says, peace of mind also comes from separation of seer and seen. Correct. This was the fifth state I was talking about. Drigdrishya Viveka, and leading to ultimate realization that Aham Brahmasmi. That attitude is, let the mind think what it will. What is it to you? There are 6 billion, 7 billion minds thinking all sorts of insane thoughts all over the planet. Nothing to you, because they are not your mind. You might say that, but I don't have access to those insane thoughts in their mind, so I am at peace. But in my mind is obvious to me. No, the problem with the thoughts of my mind is that it is my mind. If I were a telepath and I could watch the thoughts of other people, God forbid, but I could watch the thoughts of other people, it would just be like a movie. It would be of no consequence to me. Similarly, my mind also should be of no consequence to me. That's the Jnani's approach. The yogi's approach is to shut down the mind, quieten the mind, calm the mind. The bhakta's approach is to fill the mind with devotional thoughts. You will think, but devotional thoughts. And the karma yogi's approach is to fill the mind with the thoughts of welfare of others, of worship, of converting activities for the worship of Lord, and so on. Gloria is asking, is emphasis on worship, devotion a method for negating the fear of God? One may start with the fear of God, but bhakti must proceed beyond the fear of God. Many people say, oh, fear of God is bad. No, it's not really bad. It's the beginning of devotion. See, devotion, all that one may speak about devotion and love of God, it's often because we have no conception of what God is. As we begin to have a conception of God, as it becomes deeper and more serious, the first feeling will be awe. And it's like when you go to meet like the most important, most powerful, the richest and the greatest person in the world, you will feel awe. You don't feel immediately that, hey, he's my pal or my buddy. No, you feel awe. And imagine, multiply that 1,000,000 times. So religion often begins with fear of God, with awe of God. When Arjuna, he asked for a vision of God, the Vishwarupa. So what was his reaction? He wanted to see that. And Krishna said, yes, you can see it. But his first reaction was he was completely scared. He was terrified. His first reaction is every hair on his body stood on the end when he began to see what God really is. There's a reason why the devotees of God are always shown like this in front of the Lord. I know one monk who is a staunch non-dualist. staunch, aham brahmasmi, that kind of. So he went to the Jagannath temple in Puri. So as he went inside, he said later, every thought of I am Brahman and there's one existence consciousness, everything fled away. It's suddenly in the front of this extraordinary magnificence, this huge spiritual power. So that's one place Sri Ramakrishna never went to. The Holy Mother went and showed the picture of Sri Ramakrishna to Lord Jagannath, because Sri Ramakrishna said, I cannot go there. If I go, I will not be able to come out of that. I will leave the body there. So, so this non-dualist, aham brahmasmi, totally gone. He said, there's no question of that. You are just this, like the thousands of people there, all raising their hands like this non-dualist monk also just like this, and with hands. It will be overcome. All these little things of our intellect, when you're actually face to face with God, and forget face to face with God, with a manifestation of God, as you find in very powerful places like Puri Jagannath and some of the other ancient temples in India, you will be overcome. There is no doubt about it. All right, I will not take up the other questions. Rick says, regular experience of samadhi integrates, infuses, and stabilizes it such that eventually it abides in it. Absolutely. Regular practice of meditation, deep meditation, it will have its effect immediately on the rest of the day. The serenity, not just serenity, centeredness, and not even that, holiness. Serenity, yes. Centeredness, yes. But holiness, it will be like a perfume which spreads around your others will also notice it. I've seen it in the lives of senior monks. There is no doubt about it. You can clearly sense the difference. You're entering the presence of something holy. When you come to their presence, just they're maybe sitting down, walking around, or talking, or just alone, sitting quietly. I've had so many such experiences. Once I went up to meet a very senior monk of the order in Belur Math. So some work, just some very almost secular kind of work, karma yoga. And the Swami had not come down to his office. He lived on a room upstairs in the building. So I thought I'll go to the room and catch him before he gets busy. So I went up to the room. It was time for all the Swamis to come down to work, and most had come. He had not yet come. So I caught him at that moment when he was just getting ready to come out from his room and go down to the office for his daily work. I saw him from the window. He didn't see me. He was bowing down to the little picture of Sri Ramakrishna, Ma Sharada, Swami Vivekananda on his table. He was bowing down on the floor. And this is like a 75-year-old Swami. On the floor, he's bowing down. And it's so simple. Something that I've seen 1,000 times, and I've done thousands of times. The Swami is bowing down, and yet it was a scene that I'll never forget in my life. As simple as that. It's almost as if it was literally like nature stood still. There was a very holy silence in the entire room, and a vibrant feeling of the presence of God. And I'm just standing outside the room and watching this Swami. And it's something that I will never forget in my life. I've seen it again and again. And I didn't, of course, speak to the Swami, just quietly backed out and went away from there. There are so many such instances. Another Swami, I know, a disciple of Swami Shivananda, Swami Pavanananda. I've mentioned him a few times, this Irish man who became a monk, who met M. I mentioned in the Kathamrita class. So I used to serve him towards the end of his life. In the evening Arati in Deoghar Ramakrishna Mission. So after the Arati is over, all the children leave, the monks leave, and he was old, nearly 90. So I used to walk with him, hold his hand and walk around. He would go and bow down to Sri Ramakrishna, Ma Sharada, Swami Vivekananda. Then he would go and each of the direct disciples' pictures, Swami Brahmananda, Shivananda, and he had seen number of them. That was amazing to walk with him. I still remember one day he's bowing down to a picture of Swami Abhedananda and saying, I consider him to be my second guru. Because he's a disciple of Swami Shivananda, and so on. Now, one day, so we have finished all the pranams, and he's going to leave the temple. He goes to the door of the temple, and it caught me by surprise. He's walking down, suddenly turned around, and he bowed down like this. Now, I don't know how I can convey it. When I turn around and I see a picture, then I bow down to the picture. It's a formal thing. But when he's bowing down, the look in his eyes is actually seeing a living form, because I almost jumped out of my skin. I whirled around like this to look who he was he looking at. I just saw the picture of Sri Ramakrishna. This kind of thing. And he actually got a vision. At least twice he told me that he got visions of his guru, Swami Shivananda. I've seen him standing in front of the picture of his guru, Swami Shivananda, with tears flowing down his eyes. And when he saw me, I saw him, that he was crying, he looked at me and he said, you know, Vishwarup, that is my pre-monastic name, Vishwarup, where I was, what I was and what I have become by the grace of the Guru. What I was and what I have become. With tears flowing down his... So, yes, the living presence you can feel. Anuradha says, I find the hardest thing is likes and dislikes. I know the answer is karma yoga, but that is really words for me. Yes. Even mechanically, if we start offering our likes and dislikes to the... You don't have to force it. Start doing things which we like and offering that to the Lord. And situations we do not like, work we do not like, people or food or things, whatever we do not like now, mentally also we associate it with the Lord. And all of this is coming to me as prasad. So in the prasad also, I may like the mango piece and I may not like the pear or something, but both are prasad. I mean, that holiness is attached to me. I can't reject it. Suppose the pear comes to me, I can't throw it away because it's the prasad offered to the Lord. I will take it with reverence. Similarly, nobody's forcing you to like an unpleasant person. Nobody's forcing you to like illness. Obviously, it's unpleasant, but it is the prasad of the Lord. It's the Lord's universe. It's the Lord's body, Lord's prana, life, senses, even the mind and thoughts, they all belong to the Lord. What business is it of mine? I will happily receive all of it. Okay. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.